when I'm not making prints of my hot new calendar, Women of the West Wing. I like to answer questions that I get on YouTube, so let's get to it. What is the most difficult thing to play on guitar? I mean, what is the most top level? This is a topic of much debate out there, but even though I'm not a huge fan, I'm gonna go with Van Halen, probably Eruption, really kind of anything by Van Halen when he's really slaying it. I'm not a huge fan of speed playing shredding to listen to. It's super impressive. I've got nothing but the utmost respect for all those guys. I think with Van Halen, it's a little bit more than just technical speed madness. Kind of like when I think of that, I think of, Dragon Force type stuff where it's like insane, but I don't really want to listen to it a lot. I think Eruption is still kind of musical. It's still an interesting kind of piece, arrangement. It's hard to play it just like him. I remember one of my students and I were like, let's learn Eruption. And we sat down and we were trying to do it for a second. And it's like, why would we devote time to doing this? It is so not worth it for me. So again, anything by Petrucci is great too. I do think when it comes to a musical context thing, aside from just speed that's still kind of fast with different technique, anything by Randy Rhoads, I think is like really, really top level playing. I thought that guy was like an absolute beast. And then, even like Hendrix too, just as far as like really getting what he's doing down instead of just doing like a bad approximation of it, like what I kind of do. So I think it's just, the real question is, what do you think is top level playing? Is it speed? I personally think that like the arrangement, the song structure and content has a lot to do with it. But definitely leave your own thoughts below as what you think the top level of playing is. Kind of a weird question, but if you became the CEO of Guitar Center, what would be your first move? So I used to work at Guitar Center for I think like 2 or 3 years actually, and I distinctly remember a lot of the things that just didn't make sense there. The first thing I would do, because again, GC sadly is in kind of trouble, I would focus on guitars again, because they try to do so much and they spread themselves so thin. And again, from the viewpoint of another employee, the first thing I would do is get rid of the drum section. And I'm sorry to all you drummers out there, I know it's awesome to be able to come in and play something, but the thing is, the drums department takes up so much room, there's so much stock that you keep, and nobody ever buys anything. It kind of sucks because like, if you get paid on commission and you're in drums, like you might sell 1 kit a month and the margin is not like insane to like pay your bills. So if you work in drums, you're essentially making minimum wage and nothing else. I remember because I was banished to the drum section many times because I was the only one that kind of knew what I was talking about when it comes to drums. That's why a lot of times there's just like, the drum section will just be like a ghost town. So that's the first thing I would do, is just get rid of drums, kind of focus and just really tighten up what they do, because I'm sure like a lot of you people have experienced it. And a lot of people like to hate on Guitar Center, but the reality is an employee can't know everything about everything in that store. They just have so much stuff. It's kind of hard to get, really, really solid help in there sometimes. And it's not because the employees like are just trash employees. It's just they're expected to do so much and know so much about everything. So I think one thing that might help them out is really just kind of simplifying what they do, get back to just being like a Guitar Center. It's cool to have a little bit of other stuff, like, the pro audio stuff is great to kind of have because it is somewhat of a natural extension of just, guitar music stuff. But really, drums department, I think a lot of people will agree out there that it's just kind of like an albatross around the neck of Guitar Center. And then just kind of getting creative with stuff. Like you could use the extra room, because usually that drum stuff is like a huge room. Hold like actual events and make it kind of like a community center for musicians to kind of play and like jam and just kind of do stuff outside the box, because they are the biggest game in town, even though it seems like in a lot of places they're kind of on the way out. Like you should use the community of musicians who a lot of times gather around Guitar Center and give them a forum to play. So just like do hosted like jam sessions, stuff like that, do clinics. I know some Guitar Centers do that, but I really think there's like a big opportunity to kind of make it more of like a teaching community thing. And I think it should happen where the drums used to be. So get rid of the drum section.
You're full of... Oops, I meant to say you're full of yourself.
I appreciate the apologetic tone in which he responded to his own comment, but that's just pretty salty. What do you tell your students about using your thumb on your fretting hand? I know that the proper answer is that you shouldn't do it, but it's mostly self-taught and it's an ingrained habit for me. I ask because I fret my D/F sharp with my thumb most of the time. Is there an advantage to using the thumb versus not using it? So I don't think it's improper to use your thumb. Now, I will admit, I'm not really a thumb player myself. Basically, like what he's saying is like you play a D chord and then you wrap your thumb around to grab the F sharp to make it like a fuller chord. That's just one use of it. Again, Hendrix, one of my favorite players of all time, was really kind of the master of it. John Mayer uses his a lot. The advantage for doing it, like let's say you're playing like an A minor 7, which most of the time I play A minor 7 like this. You could like anchor the root note with your thumb, hit the minor 7 part here, and then have these fingers kind of open to like flourishes. Or even if it's like a minor or a major thing, you can kind of still do that kind of Hendrix thing where you can always kind of ram that root note and then have your other fingers free to do inflections. I'm not a thumb player. I'll be the first to admit. Not saying it's wrong. It just does not feel natural. I need my thumb to perform other duties in life. Mainly that right there. So I would never deny somebody because some of the greatest players in history use their thumb. If it's something that's comfortable for you, again, I never thought it was comfortable personally. I see a lot of the advantages. I wouldn't say there's disadvantages unless it's uncomfortable, which for me, like if I really just tried playing with my thumb a lot right now, I would probably get sore, and then you should all feel bad for me because that would be a really sad thing to happen. For the next QA, in-ear monitors or wedges? So if you don't know what that means, if you're playing live and there's a lot of stage volume, one of the best ways to monitor yourself is by using an in-ear monitor set where you just kind of wear headphones essentially in your ears, and then you have a sound guy kind of feed certain parts of the mix to your monitors. Same thing with like a wedge. That's just really a speaker that kind of goes somewhere in front of you that you can find a way to monitor and hear yourself. Now, I haven't had a lot of experience with the in-ear stuff. I do think in-ear monitors is the answer as long as it's done right. Just because even with wedges, it can be kind of a pain. And specifically for guitar players too, because depending on what your role is and where you kind of fit in like the frequency spectrum of the band, I've always found working with wedges to kind of be rough. But I mean, that's just, you know, part of the game when you're rocking hard. So a lot of it depends on the sound guy, for sure. A great sound guy can make either of them work. A bad sound guy can make both of them fail miserably. So again, personally, not a lot of experiences with in-ears. I've used them just a couple times, but they definitely...
This is demeaning to any really fine pianist. Can he fake a Rolls Royce too? Disgusting. We're always trying to find the easy way out.
Now it takes a very salty elite pianist to compare his own really fine piano playing to a Rolls Royce, which of course you could never fake. Do people even think that Rolls Royces are still like cool nowadays? I feel like this guy's got to be like 78 years old to be faking a Rolls Royce. I think my great uncle had like a very ghetto Rolls Royce that he was like really proud of. And I don't know. I feel the Rolls Royce has not stood the test of time. Are you team sharp or team flat? I'm team sharp. I always like looking ahead and not backwards, with one exception. There's something about B flat that I find really intriguing instead of A sharp. A sharp just seems like like commoners would play an A sharp. B flat, that's where the classy people go. Other than that, I'm all about sharps. I think if you really want to be a boss, you can play like a G sharp followed by a B flat, and then just wait for people to elitely yell at you. What are the strings you use and picks? So let's do the accessory rundown. I have recently kind of become a pure Ernie Ball fanboy. So aside from, I've been using Ernie Ball strings for a long time. I generally use 10s. I use the Paradigm stuff too on the electrics. On the acoustic guitar stuff, I switch back and forth between the Paradigm acoustics they came out with and the Elixir 12 phosphor bronze ones. I think those are pretty cool. Picks, I'm now again firmly on Ernie Ball Prodigy ones. The Jazz 3 shape picks I think are absolutely awesome. Even the white bigger ones for, you know, different types of playing, I'm totally down with. Cables also too. I like the new Ernie Ball cables. I used to use Planet Waves ones back in the day, but I just kind of think the tips on the new Music Man ones are pretty awesome. Tuners, I'm definitely down with the Snark tuners. Never done me wrong. Battery life seems to be pretty amazing. Solid. I drop mine a lot and it keeps taking. They're super cheap, easily replaceable. String winder cutter tool wise, I like this Planet Waves one. I think it's like $10. It definitely has helped me out a lot of times. And then as far as straps, I don't really get too involved in straps. Really, the simpler, the better for the strap. I'm not all about the flashy strap. I think a lot of times when you see a flashy strap, it takes away from the beauty of the guitar that you're playing. So, simpler the better for straps, but that is my accessory rundown. So for listening homework this week, I'm going to throw you to a track by a band called Astronauts Etc. Awesome band name, got a cool vibe. Check them out. Let me know what you think. Any comments or questions you have, hit me up in the comments section, Instagram, Twitter, or the website, and I'll talk to you all soon. Thanks a lot.